This is me. And what you just watched was earlier this year, us lot at McLaren winning the F1 Esports Championship. And somehow I'm there because I was their manager. Now, if you've ever wondered how you could go from a gamer like I was to being a manager at a Formula One team, this is the place to be. I want to share my story and we can take it from there. So my story begins back in the day. Well, I say that about 8 years ago when I was a young lad and I really wanted to be a racing driver. However, there was a problem, and that problem is quite simply that motorsport is really, really expensive. And so to get around this, I was recommended that I could play racing games like the F1 games or like Forza or Gran Turismo, because apparently they were a good way to fulfill that competitive desire that I probably had, wanting to be a race car driver. And so I got stuck in, and straight away I found some tournaments and some leagues that I could be part of, and online I found that there were loads of people in this situation where they wanted to drive real cars but they couldn't afford it, so they played games instead. And I kind of found that this was somewhere I wanted to be. And so at the time, this was about 2014 or 2015, and I was playing Forza 6 to be specific. And I saw the ESL, which is a very well-regarded esports tournament organizer, were doing some events in Forza, and they had cash prizes for it. I think it was literally like $100,000 or something. I thought that was completely out of the question. But I entered just to see what could possibly happen. And long story short, I entered into this league with no expectation, but I ended up managing to win $50. $50. It's honestly insane. Now at 15, if you're playing Forza and you've just earned 50 quid, wasn't even that, by the way, it was like 38 pounds or something. And I'd managed to pay for the value of the game. And so for me, that was like a huge moment of like, okay, like, let's see where this could go. And as the tournament continued, I realized that if I was high enough in the rankings, I'd actually end up getting flown out to the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France to compete on Forza at the same time as the 24-hour like real car race. And for me, the 24-hour Le Mans is basically like the pinnacle of where I would have ended up if I tried to pursue cars. And yet I was already potentially going there if I'd managed to qualify. And this event changed everything, I tell you. I turned up, young lad. I had to take my dad with me because I was too young to go on my own. And it was mind-boggling, the scale of this esports gaming business. Microsoft had put some serious cash into this event. It's called the Forza RC back then, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And I basically had the time of my life at Le Mans and competed and ended up coming 13th in the world at Forza. I remember it very, very well. But honestly, as a, I think I was genuinely the youngest person there at the time, and it was an absolute game changer. Now, the reason this was a game changer is because after this event, I ended up getting picked up for esports teams. So the first one was a team called F4H, and it was like a very well regarded, but slightly under the professional level, if you like, of esports organizations. And then after that, I ended up getting picked up for a company called Veloce, and also a traditional esports org called Lazarus, which gave me my first like proper. They enabled me to live effectively as a student by playing games, which is unbelievable. Now, all that is well and good, and I made it well. I got good at driving, but how did I become someone in management? And the answer to that is that it started actually while all this was happening. It's just after and while I was competing, I went to uni and I got a degree in business management, which is a large part of it because I've always been interested in working with people and all of that side of kind of taking my career. And at this time as well, the industry, as you may well know, but gaming space has been growing rapidly and more people are getting involved. And it was roughly at this time that all the Formula One teams were announced that they were committing to having their own esports operations. And so that really pricked up my ears, I guess, and I was pretty interested to see where that could possibly go. Off the back of all that, something even bigger than everything we've spoken about has happened, and that's the 2020 lockdown. So that's roughly where we are. But lockdown was a big trigger for me because I got chucked out of uni because of the lockdown ending everything super early, and I had a decision to make. And I've been looking around, and I was very fortunate that one of the old managers that I used to work very closely with throughout multiple teams that I was with before actually secured a job with Veloce, which is that team I was driving for a couple years back. Veloce had secured a deal with McLaren to operate their esports stuff for them. And Nathan Tague, a good friend of mine, my manager, he had managed to get that gig. And so I had an in. And to be honest, it was from all the gaming that I'd done and the connections I'd made. I'd managed to get a lucky connection, if you like, that's got, well, several lucky connections that have links to that Formula One team. And so off the back of that, I decided to send an email. And I'd like to stress, actually, that this opportunity wasn't being advertised. There was absolutely nothing saying that I would have any form of success, if I reached out. But I decided to send an email to the team that were working with McLaren on Veloce's side, explain to them that I'd just finished my degree and that I could potentially help them. And that email kick-started everything in terms of that side of my management career, and in terms of having a traditional job in esports. So absolutely insane. And for me, we kind of now get to that point where we started the video, because a huge moment throughout all of this was winning the F1 Esports Championship at the end of last year. So McLaren have been competing in F1 Esports for many years. They've always been mid-table, but we really approached it differently last year, did some really good things, brought in some great drivers, and winning the official Formula One esports season is just awesome. And getting that trophy, we had the trophy, and that is now in the McLaren Technology Centre, alongside all of the Formula One team trophies. It's a really cool experience. And it also brings me on to say, what's next? You might have noticed all of this is in the past tense, and a kind of final conclusion I'd say is I decided that after winning the championship at the start of this year that I'd move on and do something new, and it was simply just because I think I just need to do something a bit different. Everything's been so natural, which is good in my career, as you can see from my story, but I think it's time now to take that experience and do something else, basically. And that is why now I've got my own business. It's called Pace Note. It's all about bringing gaming and esports to brands that want to get involved, and also definitely keen, and we'll see. You guys will hold me accountable. Hopefully I'll be doing some more YouTube stuff as well as we go, because content is really fun, and it's something I didn't do at all while I was working full time, because it was very difficult. Now it's slightly different though. But yeah, thank you genuinely so much for watching. If you enjoyed, a like is always appreciated. It's surprising how much effort these videos take to edit together. I always forget, but yeah, really appreciate it, and thank you so much, and see you next time.